Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome back. We're going to be reacting to this video. It's called 3 Creepy Real Stories with Photos / Video Footage, and it's by Mr. Nightmare. If you guys want to see this video by yourselves, I'll leave the link in the description, and let's get straight into it. Alright, here we go.
Mark was a college student living in Indiana. His house was quiet and sat next to some woods. During the day, everything felt normal, but at night, the woods made the place feel strange.
Of course,
behind his house, under the patio, there was a hot tub.
11 p.m.
That's where everything happened. It was Saturday night, March 29th, around 12:30 a.m. Spring break was ending and school was starting again soon. Mark had his 3 close friends over, Kyle, Keenan, and Derek. They were spending one last night hanging out. They were in the garage playing pool, blasting music, and drinking. Everyone was laughing and having fun. It felt like a good night. After a while, Kyle said they should go in the hot tub. It was cold outside, so the warm water sounded even better. Everyone agreed. They got changed into swim trunks, grabbed their drinks, and went into the hot tub.
Drinking as well.
The warm water felt good as they talked, made jokes, and didn't pay attention to the time. Then they heard something. It was the sound of sticks breaking, like footsteps coming from the woods.
Oh, hell no, bro.
It didn't sound like an animal. It sounded like a person. They all went quiet and looked around. Keenan tried to calm everyone down and said it was probably nothing. The others laughed, but it was more to stop feeling nervous. They turned the music up louder and tried to keep talking. About 10 minutes later, a man walked out of the woods. He stepped into the light from the patio. He was wearing a long black coat, white sweatpants, and a gaming headset. His eyes were wide, and his face didn't show any feeling. Everyone jumped. They yelled at him and asked who he was and what he was doing. The man raised his hands and said his name was Seth. He said he was 33 years old, and he heard them laughing and wanted to join.
What the fuck,
the guys just looked at each other, confused. Mark told him to leave, but he didn't listen. Instead, Seth took off his coat, then his shoes, and then his pants.
This is actual photos.
He was now in only his underwear.
Man, what the
then
fuck?
He got into the hot tub. No one knew what to say. Mark pulled out his phone and started recording, not for fun, but because the whole thing felt unreal. This was the footage he captured.
He has to be like some drugged out guy. Who the fuck is this guy? Bro walked up in the middle of the night and got in the hot tub. Oh, fuck.
Visit G2A.com for all your Xbox needs, from the latest games.
Oh, what the fuck?
They started asking Seth questions, like where he came from and if he knew anyone there. He just kept saying he heard them laughing and wanted to hang out.
Bro, this is some...
Then he said something really disturbing. He said he had molested a child.
Oh, fuck no, bro. What? You guys heard that right.
That changed everything, obviously.
He's probably gonna
the guys jumped out of the hot tub and started yelling at him to leave. They pulled him out of the water. Seth didn't try to stop them. He just stood there, dripping wet and staring. Then he slowly walked back into the woods without saying anything.
Oh,
the group ran inside and locked all the doors. Some of them laughed nervously, trying to shake it off.
Bro, I would fucking... I don't even know. I would just get the fuck out of my friend's house.
But Mark and Kyle didn't feel okay. They felt like it wasn't over. About 15 minutes passed. Kyle said they should go back out to lock the hot tub. Mark said okay.
Oh my god, watch. They're gonna go and lock the hot tub, and he's gonna be he's gonna be in the hot tub just staring at them with the wide eyes. Watch.
So they got flashlights and stepped outside. That's when Mark saw something next to the hot tub.
Yep.
It was a phone. He picked it up and saw the screen light up. Whatever was on the lock screen made him drop the phone. He didn't say what it was, but it scared him. He said he thought Seth would come back, so they ran inside and told the others. Everyone tried to stay calm. Then they heard a tapping sound on the window. Mark already knew who it was. He opened the curtain, and wouldn't you know it, Seth was standing right there. His face was pale, his eyes were wide open, and he had a creepy smile. He didn't say anything, he didn't move, he just stared. Mark yelled for Kyle. Kyle ran in and called the police. Mark grabbed a bat and went to the front door. He yelled for Seth to leave and take his phone. Seth didn't answer. Instead, he slowly walked around the side of the house. Mark followed a little bit and looked through the patio window. Seth was standing there again, staring inside. Mark told him the cops were coming and that he needed to leave, but Seth didn't move. He just slowly raised his hand and waved once. Then he turned and walked back into the woods.
Bro,
the police arrived a few minutes later.
He has to be like
the guys told them everything. The officers searched the woods and found Seth standing alone, just looking toward the house. They arrested him for trespassing, and everyone thought it was over. But Mark didn't feel that way. A few days later, he saw a post on Snapchat from a girl who lived nearby. It was a video.
Same guy?
It showed another man, not Seth, trying to break into her house late at night. That's what bothered Mark the most. It meant Seth might not be the only one out there. There could be more.
Oh, obviously.
They could be connected, and they might not be done.
I don't think they're connected, but it's just, obviously, it's just fucking random people. Weird people. The tunnel, Sam Burns.
A few years ago, 3 high school friends named Beck, Matthew, and Tyler decided to explore a sewer tunnel in their neighborhood.
Why?
It was winter and very cold outside.
Just why?
The tunnel was at the edge of their neighborhood, under a small creek next to some office buildings. These buildings were empty and dark at night. The boys had seen the tunnel before, but never went inside of it. It always looked creepy, and they joked about it, but deep down they were curious. That night, they finally decided to go in.
At night? No. Okay. That's where it changes. I would do it at daytime, especially because it's winter and there's snow and shit. I might slip. I wouldn't do it at night, because if there's some fucking weird person, some insane person, and then we try to run, me and my friends, one of us is going to slip, and then who knows what's going to happen. I would do it in the daytime, let me know. And with a lot of friends as well.
They brought sleds with them, thinking it would help if someone asked what they were doing. They knew they weren't allowed to be there, but they wanted to do something exciting. Just as they pulled into the parking lot, a police car showed up. A police officer got out and asked what they were doing there. Someone had apparently seen them on the security camera. Tyler quickly said that they were just going sledding. The officer looked at them for a moment, then told them to leave. So they left, but only for a little while. After driving around for about 30 minutes, they came back. This time, they parked farther away, behind a building where no one could see them. They walked down a hill behind the buildings. They could see their breath in the cold, crisp air. They stood in front of the tunnel, noting how big, round, and completely dark inside it was. They turned on their flashlights and walked in.
There's gonna be someone.
Turn off your light, everybody. Okay.
Yeah, look at that.
Dude, this is. Oh, look at the date, dude. Oh,
6/19/19.
19. Oh my god, this is dead.
Dude, how did we even find this? Oh my gosh.
What the fuck is that at the end? There's some light.
Inside the tunnel, the ground was dry. It was quiet, except for the sound of water dripping deeper in. The walls had graffiti all over them. Most of it looked old, but one thing caught their eye. A date was spray painted in large red numbers. 6/19/19. The paint looked newer than the rest, like it was done recently. That made them feel uneasy. Their flashlights weren't very strong and didn't shine very far. Still, they kept walking and acting tough, but deep down they were nervous.
Yeah.
The farther they went, the colder it got. The temperature was dropping fast. Even though they were underground, they could still see their breath. The walls looked like they had ice on them.
Not gonna lie, if the place that you walk to is like abandoned and it gets super cold, I've experienced this when I went to explore a abandoned hospital, mental hospital. I'll leave the link, well, not the link, I'll pop it up on the top right of the screen. But I experienced this. It was, I felt cold, like it was warm everywhere. It was a warm night, and then when we walked into this room, it was suddenly freezing. Like I was like, what the fuck, you guys feel that coldness? And they're like, yeah, we feel it. Then after that, we heard a noise, 2 noises, like someone hitting something and then the door closing. But if that means there's like ghosts, there's something present, there's something near you if it gets cold suddenly.
Big icicles hung down from the ceiling. Some were huge and sharp.
Keep it slow.
Icicles, what the fuck? Is this connected to like
see a
Antarctica or
light
some
on
shit?
I think I saw movement. Wait. What was that? Hello?
They're gonna scream right there.
We keep going.
Did we keep going?
Bro. Dude, and these icicles can like impale you, dude. Look how like.
What the fuck? Bro, those
Suddenly,
icicles,
a loud cracking
there's, like,
sound
some
echoing
blood
from
on the
further
top.
down the tunnel sends the group fleeing in fear. The sound resembled something heavy hitting stone. It wasn't any of them. The sound came from deeper inside the
Bro, the
tunnel, too
icicles
far to
have, like-
see.
like
They
fucking blood
tripped,
on them.
slid, and bumped into each other as they rushed to get
They
out.
tripped. Yeah, I knew.
When they got outside, they were shaking and breathing hard. That's when Beck noticed his phone was missing. He had dropped it while they were running.
No. You know what my worst fear would be? Is going back, getting my phone, right? And then when I grab my phone, I get home, I feel like I'm all safe. And then I look at the camera roll and I find like a recording of something. And then I play it, and who the fuck knows? It's gonna be like someone's face, someone walking to a room and showing something. That's like that would be my fear at that moment.
Tyler and Matthew told him to forget about it. They didn't want to go back in, but Beck didn't listen. He grabbed his flashlight and started walking toward the tunnel again. The others followed, but they didn't want to. The tunnel felt different this time. It felt even darker. The air felt heavy and strange, like something was wrong. Their flashlights didn't work as well.
No
The
way.
silence was even worse than before. It felt like something was watching them.
I feel like
I feel like my pocket got like a little emptier over here. Like somewhere over here.
Bro, I would
Go
not
over
be
here
talking.
this way.
no, dude, that's when we fucking heard the noise.
Whatever is inside
Do I have to go
knows where
back
you
there?
are. If you're just talking hella loud, you're flashing so many
You're the
lights.
first, bro.
I
It's
know,
your
yeah, we're
phone.
not leading the way. Yeah, somebody else lead the way, please.
No, it's your phone.
At some point off camera, Beck found his phone. Afterwards, the group continued deeper
is
into
that?
the tunnel investigating. And that's when they heard a sound.
That rock. It must have hit like here.
What was it? Do you remember what
Honestly, it just sounded like some homeless person, to be honest, or like some junkie crackhead person, and he just wants to be left alone. That's a typical way to just scare off a couple teenagers or kids. You just scream, make a noise, and they go running away. Or final thing that you do is you just chase them.
A loud scream came from deeper in the tunnel. It didn't sound like a person. It didn't sound like an animal either.
It sounded like
It
a
was
person.
something else. It was low and high at the same time, like
Mm.
more than one voice
I don't
screaming
know.
together.
It sounded like a
It
person. to me.
echoed off the walls and felt like it was getting closer. They didn't wait. They turned and ran as fast as they could. This time, no one talked, no one looked back. They just ran. They got to the car, jumped in, and drove away without stopping. The car ride back was mostly silent. The three friends thought it was over when they all got home.
Oh,
And they were
ooh.
ready to move on with
Yes. Here we go. Watch. It's gonna be like their friends got home, they were about to go to sleep, and then he noticed that there was a video. Bro, I swear, if Mr. Nightmare says this, or the guy that uploaded this, what was his name? I don't even remember his name. But if this guy says that he checked his phone and there was some recording of something, I swear.
their lives. But late that night, Beck's doorbell rang twice.
Wait, what? Oh my god, he
This-
probably, don't tell me he dropped his phone and it was like unlocked and he just found like his address, everything. That's, oh my god.
It was at some off hour in the night. When Beck's dad went to answer the door, nobody was there. This, of course, begs the question, were the boys followed home that night? Or was it simply a
100%.
very unfortunately timed ding-dong ditch? That remains a mystery. The night left more questions than answers for the three
100%
friends.
followed by
But
by
they all
some
heard the
lady.
noises, and of course got it on video. Perhaps it was something they weren't meant to stumble upon.
100% they were followed by something. Story 3, Woods Encounter.
In
Submitted
April
by
of
Connor.
2022, a man named Connor took a construction job far from home as part of a 3-month accommodation program. The pay was decent, and he needed every dollar. He wasn't in the best place financially, and the bonus of working alongside his longtime friend Jim
That
made
looks
the
like a fun
opportunity
job.
more appealing. They figured it would be a nice change of pace, extra cash, time away from home, and some peace from the chaos of everyday life. The job itself wasn't bad. A few weeks in, Ryan had adjusted well to the routine, but the area they were stationed in was remote, deep in rural countryside. There were long, winding roads with barely any signs of life. It wasn't unusual to go miles without seeing a single home. Ryan had always loved the outdoors, and he saw this isolation as a chance to unplug. Most of his coworkers blew their weekends drinking, but Ryan had different plans. He wanted solitude. He wanted quiet. So when Friday rolled around, he packed his gear and prepared for a weekend of hiking and camping deep within the woods. A narrow trailhead just 5 minutes from his temporary accommodation became his entry point. Within 20 minutes, he was deep in the forest. The only sound was the wind and the crunch of his boots. He smoked a couple joints as he made his way further in, letting the stress just melt away. The isolation was comforting for him. Well, at first. Around 7 p.m., the sun began to sink behind the treetops. Shadows stretched long across the trail. Ryan knew it was time to find a place to settle. That's when he noticed something unusual.
He forgot his
There
way
was a
back.
scent in the air, burning firewood, and a light layer of smoke drifted between the trees.
Never mind.
At first, it seemed normal. Maybe another camper, maybe a local. But then, he caught something just barely in the corner of his vision. The faint orange glow of fire flickering through the trees. Curious and confident, Ryan left the trail and headed towards the source. He wasn't scared. He trained in combat sports during his teens and stayed in good shape. Still,
Okay.
something about this felt off to him. As he moved closer, he began to see strange metallic glints. Shopping carts, dozens of them.
What the fuck?
They were tied to trees with rope hanging for the branches. Some mangled and suspended in bizarre positions, like a twisted jungle gym of rusted steel.
Oh hell no, bro.
It
What
didn't
the
look
fuck
like a
is this shit?
campsite. It looked like a ritual site, like something
Yeah.
meant to be seen and feared.
Yep.
Started
That's
pulled out his phone and started
100%.
snapping photos.
What the
He had to
fuck is
prove this to his
man?
friends someday because no one would believe it otherwise. Then, something even stranger
Oh
caught his
my
eye.
God.
Hung
Some-
directly above the fire was a charred, old-fashioned duck ornament. Sitting in the duck's back was a scorched baby doll. The thing was melted, its limbs
What the
warped
fuck,
from
bro?
heat. Ryan took a photo of that too, but the longer he stared, the more disturbed he felt. His chest began to tighten. The fire was roaring, clearly tended to recently. There were water bottles scattered around. Someone had been there, or currently was there, maybe still watching. He
Bro,
thought about turning
If I
around.
saw this shit in the forest, I would be freaking the fuck out. I'd probably run back to what was it? It was his job, right? Like the logging thing in the woods. I would be. I know they would be looking at me because they're obviously gonna be somewhere far away, just looking at you, but you don't know where they are. But that shit would be terrifying, bro.
Thought about heading straight back to the trailhead, but something made him keep walking. He tried to convince himself it was nothing, just some weird loner, maybe drunk, probably harmless. Still, he checked over his shoulder more than once.
Yeah, I would.
20 minutes passed, and he'd put real distance between himself and that eerie camp. But daylight was fading fast, and he needed firewood before it got too dark. He veered off the trail again, this time to gather supplies. He wasn't worried. He had emergency wood in his pack, but not enough to last the entire night. He needed more. After about an hour of preparation, Ryan had set up his tent and built a small fire. It was around 9 p.m. when he prepped a steak
Oh
and
my
potato
God.
meal in foil and nestled it in the glowing embers.
Don't tell me he's gonna
He
see
smoked another
someone.
joint to dull the anxiety, and for a while, everything seemed okay
Why
again.
would you keep smoking? I'm gonna be honest. Why the fuck would you keep smoking? If some shit like this happens, you need to be 100% sober. Like, if this shit happens to you, would you rather be super drunk, or like this guy be super high on weed, or would you be 100% sober and keep your fight or flight? Is it fight or flight instincts? Yeah, keep that shit. Keep fight or flight instincts the best you can. Like I would be tripping out so fucking hard. I would be looking everywhere. I probably wouldn't even sleep that night, to be honest.
With his meal finished and the fire crackling, Ryan
What would
settled
you
in
guys
for the
be,
night.
Because I would be sober.
He turned on a
100%.
pre-downloaded playlist of true crime podcasts listening to cold case files as the forest around him darkened.
I wouldn't even be drunk. And I don't even smoke. So, easy. I'll be sober.
There was no signal out there, no distractions, just firelight and static-filled voices recounting unsolved murders. At some point, he drifted off to sleep, but it didn't last. He woke up suddenly. The air inside his tent felt colder. The fire outside had dimmed. He checked his phone. 4 a.m. He didn't know what had woken him up until he heard it. Whistling.
Bro, why do people do this shit to themselves? I mean, if you go to like a camping spot and there's multiple people camping, I would feel way safer. But I mean, I get it when people like go camping, you know, just what's that word called? I can't think of the word, but it's when you're isolated camping. Isolated. Yeah, I found the word. Remote. Why would people, when people go remote camping, like by themselves, isolated? I know why they go, because it's like relaxing, like there's no one else around, it's just you, but if some creepy shit happens like this, you're fucked. Like you might die that night, or who knows, who the fuck knows what's gonna happen to you. Someone could be fucking messing with you, and it's crazy. And what the fuck do you do? I'm sorry, I would never do this shit.
A slow, eerie tune carried through the trees surrounding his camp. He froze. His body wouldn't move. It was like something inside him had shut down. He lay motionless, listening as the sound crept closer. Then the whistling stopped. What followed was worse. Soft footsteps, fast, light, and quiet, circling his tent. He couldn't see them, but he could hear them crunching twigs and shifting leaves. His heart pounded in his throat. Then, without thinking, his body finally snapped into motion. He jumped up, threw on his boots, and burst out of the tent. What made it worse, what twisted the fear into something primal, was that the footsteps had come from the direction he had entered the trail. The way back to safety was now blocked. He had no choice but to run deeper into the forest. He sprinted as fast as he could, crashing through brush and low branches. But behind him, he could hear more footsteps, multiple, and they weren't in sync.
Bro, my
the
heart
sounds
is fucking
overlapped, too fast and scattered to just be one
listening to
person.
this, imagining
There
I
were
was in
two
this
of
scenario.
them, maybe more. For 5 straight minutes, he ran until his lungs burned and his legs begged for rest. He found a dense cluster of trees and dove into the underbrush, burying himself in leaves and tangled roots. He didn't move. He barely breathed. The footsteps faded, distant now, but he didn't dare come out. He waited, still and silent in the dark. Eventually, he knew he had to move. He crawled through the forest with branches cutting into his arms and legs. Every step was slow and
Bro,
careful.
this music is
When the
fucking
trees finally
insane.
began to thin, he broke into one final sprint. He recognized the trailhead, the way out, and he ran without stopping. No one followed him after that. The forest was quiet, but the damage was done. He got back to his accommodation and immediately reported the incident to the police. They took his statement and promised to investigate, but he never heard anything back. To this day, Ryan believes the people who chased him were the same ones who built that bizarre shrine of carts and
100%,
dolls.
bro.
What they were doing out
100%,
there
man.
and what they wanted, he doesn't know. But it was more than just a creepy encounter. To him, it felt ritualistic.
I feel like what they wanted with him is to sacrifice him for this ritual. That's what they needed to. That's what they needed to complete the ritual. Just a sacrifice, and he was gonna be the fucking sacrifice.
Cult-like.
That's what I
He
think.
finished his contract and returned home, but the memory never left him. He still remembers the sound of the footsteps, the whistling, and the feeling of helplessness. If there's anything to learn from this story, it would be to trust your instincts. If you find something that doesn't feel right, you should leave. Ryan almost didn't, and he knows he might not have lived to tell the story if he had stayed. This video was me experimenting with a slightly different style. If any of you have personal scary experiences,
Like and subscribe, guys. That's the whole video. If you guys enjoyed this, leave a like, subscribe, and yeah, thanks for watching. Appreciate every single one of you guys. Thanks.